Why is it so hard to find a Lyft or an Uber right now? And when you do, why does it cost so much? And that's what we're talking about right now. Hey everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to Real Rideshare Stories. And today we're going to be answering the questions, why does it take so long to find an Uber or Lyft right now? And why is it costing so much money? So first off, the reason why it's so hard to find an Uber or Lyft right now is because there's not a lot of drivers on the platform. Most drivers took off during the pandemic and have since yet to come back. Uber and Lyft are trying to scramble to bring drivers back on the platform, but it's not going so well. Also couple that with things like unemployment, also couple that things with the relationship strain that Uber and Lyft have with their drivers. And also drivers have decided to go from rideshare to food delivery and even shopping in the gig economy. So they're looking at different avenues. Maybe they like doing that better than instead of driving an Uber or a Lyft. But it really comes down to supply and demand. There's more rides coming in on the platform, so that means ride requests are happening. That means people are going out, people are going to work, people are going to restaurants, going out to have fun. Whatever it was that they were using Uber and Lyft for before pandemic is now coming back and it's starting to rise. So we're starting to see pre-pandemic levels. The only thing is drivers have not come back. So the supply pool of drivers is much less than what it was before the pandemic. So you have this huge imbalance right now of demand versus supply, which means if you are able to get a driver, they're not 5 or less minutes away like normal. They might be 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes away, and they're on their way because that's the closest available driver. Because again, there's not too many drivers compared to the amount of rides that are happening. And that's if you can even find a ride at all right now. And again, that's just because of the supply and demand issue. If there are all the drivers on rides already or not enough in the area, that's when you see that you're unable to get a ride. So now that we covered why it's so hard to find an Uber or Lyft right now, let's look at when you can find an Uber or Lyft, why is it costing so much more? And again, it's coming down to that supply and demand. So what Uber and Lyft do is they have a thing called dynamic pricing. Uber calls it surge, Lyft calls it dynamic pricing still. And essentially what it means is it takes real world and real-time data on the amount of rides that are coming in and the supply of drivers, and then it will adjust according to the supply and demand. So dynamic pricing will change because there's a lot less drivers on the road right now versus the amount of rides coming in. That dynamic pricing is going to push higher and higher. So you might notice this dynamic pricing after an event. If you're out at, say, a game and then you're trying to get an Uber or Lyft and then you see the prices are much higher to go home or to go to the bar than it would be to come to that stadium or event center. You might also notice that after the bar, if you went out for some friends or at busy times, say during rush hour. But because there are so few drivers, it's causing that surge and that dynamic pricing to go even higher, even during the regular times, and even higher during the very busy times. One thing to note as well, most of this money used to go to the driver. It doesn't happen anymore because Uber and Lyft changed a lot of their way that they pay their drivers. And this, again, what I mentioned earlier with the strain of relationship between its Uber and Lyft drivers causing part of the reason why drivers aren't coming back, that is part of it. So when you see this huge dynamic pricing, no, the driver doesn't make that amount. Just want to give you some full transparency there. Now, one of the things, though, is this is very likely to be temporary as Uber and Lyft will attract drivers to come back on the platform and new drivers to start driving on the platform. It will be like pre-pandemic times where the supply and the demand will equal out. So you're going to see those wait times for a driver to come pick you up start to decrease where it does go back to that 5 minutes or less, especially in those busy city areas. In the rural areas, you're still probably going to have to wait 15 or so minutes, whatever it was prior to the pandemic, but it will go back to normal, as well as that dynamic pricing will go back to normal once the supply and demand is at equilibrium. All right, and now I want to hear from you. Typically, what are you seeing when ordering a ride? Are you able to get a ride? Are you able to see that driver within a few minutes away, or has it been much further? And also, what are you seeing for the pricing in your area compared to normal? Comment below, let me know. All right, that's the end of the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you'll be notified every time a new video is uploaded. And as always, never drink and drive. Always tip your drivers, your delivery drivers, and your shoppers. And we'll see you next time.